My name is Dave, and I'm part of the team, part of the leadership team here at this church. And it's so good to see so many of you here this evening. And I want to ask you a question. What brought you here tonight? What was it that brought you here this evening to this place? Maybe it was a friend. Maybe a friend brought you along, a neighbor, a family member, said, hey, do you want to come along to this thing? It'll be a good evening. That's a good reason to be here. Maybe it's your tradition, maybe your family. This is something you do every year. This is something you keep coming back to, and this carol service is one that you attend year in, year out. That's a good reason to come as well. Maybe it's the carols, these familiar and not so familiar and enjoyable and fun and upbeat words and lyrics and songs in this orchestra. Maybe that's a good reason to be here as well. Maybe it's the mince pies afterwards and the promise of mulled wine. Whatever it is that's brought you here, I'm so glad that you've come. Maybe, though, the thing that's brought you here, maybe not, is to be reminded of this amazing story. This story that we've already heard this evening in lots of different ways, of shepherds and wise men and Mary and Joseph and all of that, yes. But the story beneath that story, the story behind that story. The story that tonight we've heard in 3 acts, 3 parts. The story of a broken world. And as we look at our world today, as we look at the news, as we look at the things going on around us, we know this world is broken. This world is not as we would want it to be. We've heard the possibility that maybe it wasn't always this way. And maybe there's a chance it may not be this way again. How was 2018 for you? How was this year? Was it a good year? Was it a broken year? Maybe for you, like me, for many of us, it's a bit of both. However your 2018 was, can you fix it for yourself in 2019? Maybe there are things we can put right. Maybe there are things that we can't. That was Act 1 of the story, that there's the broken world and we don't quite know what to do with it. Act 2 was this great promise, as we heard these verses from the Bible, all of which were written hundreds of years before Jesus was born, some of which were written 1,000 or so years before Jesus was born. These promises that a king would come, that someone would come and he would put this broken world right. A king, but not as we know it. As we moved into part 3 of this story, the king has come, but not as anyone expected it. This king who would come to live, to die, and to live again. James Irwin was an astronaut, and in 1971 he set foot on the moon. And he went to space kind of not sure what he thought about the whole God thing. Agnostic about the whole thing, not sure where he landed, not sure whether he thought it was real or not. When he set foot on the moon, he experienced something which I'm sure none of us here will ever experience, and it changed him. What he experienced there was something so other and so transcendent and so amazing that when he came back to earth, this is what he said. God walking on the earth, I now realize, is more important than man walking on the moon. God walking on the earth is more important than man walking on the moon. More important by far. Because if this is true, if this story that we've told this evening is more than just a myth, more than just a fairy tale, if this story is in fact true, that there is restoration on offer for me and for you, that there is a God who wants to make wrong right again, and that he does so not by staying far away, not by sending in a delegation, but by coming himself. We've heard this evening that he is called Emmanuel, God with us. We've heard this evening that he is the Word of God, this Word that brought into being all things, this Word become flesh. Divinity become humanity, infinity becoming small, becoming weak. He sends himself, not to stay squeaky clean, but to get his hands dirty, to rub shoulders with everyone and anyone. To come, to live, and to die. And then, we believe, to live again, to rise. And if all of what I've just said is true, if this great big story that we're telling this evening is true, then that surely is far more important than a gift or a card or a carol or a bauble or even a mince pie. Surely, if this is true, then it could turn the world upside down, could turn your world upside down. Or maybe better put, could turn your world the right way up again, could put back to order what doesn't feel like it has much order. So what is it that brought you here tonight? If it was a friend that brought you along, said, "Why don't you come to my church's carol service? Why not ask them over a glass of mulled wine and a mince pie later on, why is it you wanted me to be here? Why is it that you think this is important? Has this made a difference in your life?" If a friend's brought you along, maybe you could ask them that question. Maybe if you come along because year in, year out, this is what you do. And this is something that you like to come to because it's a good evening and because it's heartwarming or because it's enjoyable. Can I encourage you to think about extending that tradition this year, just a little bit, and asking whether maybe there's something to this all year round, something to this that you want to explore further. There are things you could do here, there are things you could do elsewhere to try and help you understand this a little bit more. Maybe if for you it was the carols that came along, these familiar or not so familiar words and phrases and songs and tunes. Maybe this year you could ask whether once the carols have faded down, the truth that they talk about might live on. Whether there's something that you could hold onto. Might it be that there's more of a reason for you being here this evening than you thought on your way here? Might it be that there is in fact, a God who is closer than you realize, closer than you think, and who wants for you to draw closer still, that right here, right now, he wants to know you. I'd encourage each of you to ask that question this Christmas, in this moment of quiet and pause, to ask, God, are you there? Are you wanting to say something to me? Are you wanting to show yourself to me? I believe he is, and I believe he does. We're going to sing another carol. We're going to sing one more carol, I believe, before our time is finished. And it's, "O come all ye faithful." And as we sing to one another, "Come all ye faithful to adore Jesus," as we sing, "Come together to give him praise," maybe it is that we could stop to listen and ask whether God is saying to us, "You come to me," so that we could be close.